Hello, hello world. Thank you for coming to the KERB workshop on how to start a street food business. My name's Jack. I work in the KERB markets team. We normally do our workshops in great venues around London on a weekend with maybe 40, 50 people. But obviously, because of what's happening today and at the moment, we can't do that. So we thought what we could do instead is do a digital workshop. So that's what we're doing today. Um, Lots and lots of different aspects of what you can do whilst you're at home, whilst you're isolating, to actually get into the mind of, yes, I can start my own street food business, and what you can do right now to make that reality. So we have an amazing list of speakers today. But before we do that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about KERB, just for anyone who's not really, doesn't really know too much about us, and just put into context why we do these workshops and how that will set up for us today. So, your hosts for today are Ollie, who's behind the screen, doing all the technical wizardry, and also me, being here at our Incubator weekend last year. Literally, I think this time last year. It's crazy to think that that's what we were doing, and now we're kind of all stuck inside. But it's fine. We've got lots of things we can do. So, we're here today because we love street food and we love incubating and accelerating new street food businesses. So, what we've decided to do this week is we've decided to do a 2-hour workshop today, akin to what we do in our normal physical workshops, and then a whole host of other things Tuesday, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and 1 o'clock for the rest of the week, but other things you can do to start up your street food business. So, we think that could be you. And yeah, can't wait to get started with it. Just in terms of yeah, anything. So just in terms of KERB, we've been running since 2012 when we started with a market at King's Cross. So you can see that a better microphone. So yeah, we currently run 5 markets, which obviously we're not running at the moment. And from that, we've gone on to do lots of different other things, such as private events, and also run our incubator program. And this is what we love doing. We started this program in 2017. We've worked with over 300 different businesses. And yeah, as you can see, it's what we really, really love doing. And that's a really exciting stage for most people to start their street food businesses. And you can do a lot of those things now whilst you're at home. Obviously, in September last year, we also opened our first food hall in Covent Garden. Again, that's not open at the moment either, and we really can't wait to get back in there. But a lot of the traders in there came through KERB, and some of them also did the Incubator program, including Petra. So we had lots of plans for 2020, and we still do. Obviously, doing all of our markets and doing our events, running our food hall, running investment programs for our traders, but it's not really planned out like that, and that's okay. Now, a lot of our traders are fighting to survive. They're finding new ways to diversify and figure out what they can do for the future. But we're supporting our traders through an initiative called Keep the Wheels Turning, which is an initiative to you can basically buy a lunch now and use that voucher when you come back. So if you want to check it out, you can do it so here on KERB Food Store. So when we normally talk about our ecosystem, we talk about all the different traders that come in and out of that program. And if you see the green here, you're here right now, so you're attending a workshop and you're thinking of the ways that you could start your street food business, or if you've already started, make it take it to the next level. So we've got a schedule for today, and we're starting off with Petra, who's the founder of KERB, and she's going to be talking about the origins of KERB with Ollie, who's our head of development, and what kind of similar situations they found themselves in 10 years ago after the financial crisis, and what you can do to start a street food business now when things go back to normal. So I'm going to hand over to Ollie and Petra now. And here we go.
Thanks,
Hi.
Jack.
How are you?
Not too bad. We're going to sort the sound in a sec. Don't worry.
Okay. Sorry about that. I haven't had that
I think
issue.
it might have been your presentation, but don't worry. It's all good.
Okay.
Petra, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Petra. How you doing?
I'm all right. Can you hear me all right?
Loud and clear.
Because the sound just now was really not good. So I just want to make sure that we're not sounding like that the whole way through.
I think we sound clear, and I think it was maybe because of the sharing the screen. But don't worry, we'll fix it. It'll get sorted.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you, Jack.
Sound.
We'll see you in a sec, Jack.
No problem. I think I might have just fixed it, but thank you.
Okay, good.
Okay,
sounds
bye.
great.
So, P.
Hi.
What's happening? How are you doing?
I'm all right. You know, just trying to be as swivelly as possible in this in these choppy waters.
So right now we're in lockdown. Obviously, there's a big sort of crisis in the industry. No one can get out to markets. No one can do events. How do you feel about it right now? What's happening?
I mean, it's just such a mix of things, isn't it? It's kind of like from the deeply personal to the massively unfathomably cosmic. It's just everything in between, and every single person, at least in the country, if not the world, is feeling that at the moment on different levels. And I think just, you know, your own personal mental kind of approach to it is gonna be everything. And I think what we're seeing with KERB as a company, and certainly with all of the traders we work with, is just a lot of kind of like crisis mode, leading often onto some really incredible entrepreneurialism in the face of crisis, to you know, overwhelm people, feeling like they've been they're going to fall through the cracks of all the government support that's available. Just really kind of seeing how vulnerable a lot of the businesses are, that aren't necessarily, you know, the kind of like big 400 person companies or ones that are, you know, offices who've got business rates and all that kind of stuff. So it's just it's really interesting just seeing how everyone is reacting to it. And it's you know, at the worst, it's looking absolutely terrible. And at the best, it's looking like an incredible opportunity for a reset.
I think that it's an interesting thing. I think what both makes a street food business vulnerable also enables them to have a load of opportunity, because it makes them incredibly flexible. Like, you don't have the security of a restaurant or somewhere that you could sell to someone or something, but it enables you to be, in this time, basically shut down for a few weeks, or totally change your business to adapt to the situation.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of comparisons about when KERB first started back in 2012, before that we sort of crystallized a scene that had grown out of the financial crisis, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I was a trader from 2005, so I had 3 years of the glory moment of there not being a lot of street food traders like that around. I had a chocolate van, a point where, you know, festivals would come to you to ask you if you wanted to trade there, and someone would come around at the end and say, how much did you take? And you tell them, they say, okay, that'll be 10% of that then, please. And you'd hand over some cash, and it was all very kind of like human and easy in a way. And then, 2008 came along, and everyone saw their takings go down by at least a third, if not 50%. And then you just started to notice this sort of change in the way that things were happening, and the way that people were perceiving previously trusted organizations and systems in our world, and going, hang on a minute, what am I doing placing all of my trust in the banks, or in a job where satisfaction and tangibility is deferred for months and months and months? And there was a real sense of people wanting to do something that was immediate and that was like right in front of them, that they could touch and taste and smell, and that the connection between the buyer and the seller was just significantly shorter and more understandable. And so you started to see a lot of people quitting their jobs, going, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore. Why am I working for this company that's probably going to shaft me anyway? I'm going to do my own thing. And people at the same time realizing that there was a lot more available space to do things in. And there was a sort of opening up of possibility spatially and conceptually as well. And there was definitely a kind of like loosening of our grip on what we thought British dining was, which was really exciting to see. It was became much more irreverent, much more fun, much more experimental. So obviously you had things like car parks, disused car parks becoming available for the likes of street feasts to begin. And you had buildings that suddenly weren't going to be redeveloped anymore, standing empty, that needed meanwhile use. And you had people going, oh, I'm just going to sell up and I'm going to buy a van, or shit, I haven't got any money at all, I'm just going to buy a gazebo, or whatever it was. There was just this amazing sense of shift. And it was just, it kind of came along, you know, as a result, I would argue, of the crash, in much the way that the rave scene came about as a result of deindustrialization, Maggie Thatcher's Britain, in the late 80s. And so, you know, it was a real, it definitely felt like a moment which actually concurrently was happening with Twitter and the creation of whole new communities centering around things that they loved. And in, you know, our case, it was around food and people obsessing over Yanni's burger from Meat Wagon and going all the way across the city to find it, and these amazing queues forming around these kind of like fetishized burgers. And there was just this, just a mad old explosion that just really was kind of wonderful. And it was really a really wonderful moment to sort of be able to somehow harness some of that energy and that entrepreneurialism that was abounding at the time. And it's not like, oh God, it was just this glorious moment, but it was definitely a moment of possibility and the normal rules not applying anymore. And, well, screw it, I'm going to do my own thing then, and I'm just going to make this thing happen. And what am I waiting for? It's now or never kind of thing.
Do you think there's the nature of like us sitting inside all day, every day for the next few weeks, just thinking about the possibility of what they're going to do when they're going to come out of the lockdown? Do you think this is going to be an incredibly creative time, like what you were saying? Do you think it's people are going to be going like, oh, what could I be doing? Going to be doing loads of research, going to be cooking at home, all this stuff, and then when they get out, they're like, I need to show this to people. I need people to eat this.
Yeah, it's a fact. It was in the paper yesterday. This must be true. It was no, it's true though. Like fallow minds, when a mind is allowed to go fallow, the ground can be prepared for some really extraordinary thinking to take place. I was thinking about it actually, like every time I've ever had some like lightning bolt moment, it's been after a period of incredible tedium. You know, even when I realized I wanted to get into food in the first place, came off the back of 2 weeks of cleaning a super yacht with toothpicks and Q-tips. And literally there weren't even podcasts in those days. It was just like Italian radio. It was terrible. But then I suddenly went, oh, I want to be in food. And, you know, the same thing when I started my chocolate van. It was like off the back of a really boring job that I hated. And even the idea for KERB came about after, you know, a long period of time of just not really doing much. And so I think there's enormous potential to be gleaned from boredom. And I think we're all coming to understand this a lot better, that overstimulation all the time is not necessarily allowing our brains and creativity to flourish. And I'm excited by that. So I feel like, you know, anyone bored who's watching this, go for it. Go in, lean into the boredom, because on the other side of that could be something really freaking epic that the world's going to need after this.
use this as an opportunity. You're never going to, literally no one is, unless this happens again next year, you're never going to have like 3 months of everyone being paid to sit at home, basically, just on the internet, doing research, looking up loads of different stuff. It is, so it's a very creative time, right? And it was back in 2008, another very creative time. But it's also a tough time. It's not easy to start a business now. Do you think that starting a business now, it basically puts you to the ultimate test? You as an entrepreneur, if you start a business now and you can make it, like the ones that started back then and that are still going today, they were the best of the business, basically.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. I think that the word entrepreneur has become so overused. It's like everyone's an entrepreneur these days. And I think now is the time for the true entrepreneurship to take it and run with it. And whether that's a business that's already going and is now going, oh shit, how the hell am I going to get around this? To somebody going, oh, I've got an idea, but is this a good time to do it? Is this a good time to do it? It's like, this is the best time in so many ways, because if you're entering the waters and they're choppy as hell, you're going to soon learn whether you're going to sink or swim. And it's like, this is the moment to establish your grit and your courage and your adaptability. Like, it's, you know, you mentioned it earlier, Ollie, about, you know, how traders are naturally predisposed to adaptability because they're, you know, they're mobile, they're itinerant, they don't really belong anywhere. They're kind of like having to sort of duck and dive and everything. But just, you know, every single person on the planet right now is having to be adaptable because life has completely changed. And the success stories are going to come out of people that get over that real quickly, that the world's changed and nothing may be the same again, and crack on and think of solutions that are fit for the new era. And that, I mean, I'm like twitching right now because like that is so exciting to me. Like, of course, it's awful that this has happened. It's terrible. It's going to have terrible, terrible implications for so many things, but it's happening. So what are we going to do about it? And what the world needs now is really creative, courageous, almost revolutionary thinking to get us through this and to get us rising up on the other side of it. So, you know, from that point of view, yes, I'm scared and everyone's scared and everything like that. But there's work to be done here, and there's an open platform for all kinds of great ideas to really be extrapolated and executed to a high degree.
It's going to be quite a different. I feel like once we get out of this, and this is what I keep saying. Once we're out of this, I feel like it's going to be a different time though. I think this is almost like we said earlier, press the reset button. Press pause on basically everything that, like, loads of money was flooding in, and now everyone's like, okay, hang on, I'm not 100% sure, because if this happens again, I might not want to do it. So it's press the reset button. So what do you think people's priorities will change? Do you think making money, essentially, whilst it's obviously a massive bonus to be doing that, do you think people will be more focused on like diversity, supporting their team? Like when you read stuff about Wetherspoons and you hear that they're not going to pay any of their suppliers and they're not going to pay any of their staff until the end of the month or something, and to go and get a job at Tesco's, do you think people are going to be prioritizing different things over money, or do you think it's going to go back?
I think we'd all be damn fools if we just went back. Like, this is showing us in no uncertain terms that the systems that we built for our world don't work. They just don't work. It's exposing that in healthcare. It's exposing it in our food systems. It's exposing it in our government. It's exposing it everywhere, and it's not an option to go back. It's an option to go, right, how do we think about business in terms of non-financial currencies as well? Like, there ain't a business without money, but there also definitely, there's definitely not a business without other forms of currency. So I'm talking about social currency, I'm talking about cultural currency, I'm talking about, you know, the ability to understand your foodways and the sustainability of your food, and it actually being something that's fit for purpose for, you know, all the people that need to eat. It's about really, you know, and you say, you know, when we get out of this, as if this is a tectonic moment. The reality is it's not a tectonic moment. This is just part of the curve into the new way of being. And there's so many opportunities, even in the time of like arrested business and being able to make money and being able to trade and everything. There's so many opportunities for generating other forms of currencies within your own business, to then take into the next stage of what this new era is. And I've, you know, that is just a brilliant thing to kind of like really focus on. Because when all things have fallen away, at least if you've got your really strong core of your team, of your people, of your clients, of your customers, of whoever it is, it's like you can rebuild anything from there. You're just going to have to think about different ways of doing it and just keep a really open mind of what that looks like, because it may not necessarily be the same kind of trading that happened before.
People, planet, and profit, right? The 3 Ps.
You got it.
The 4th one's Petra, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure. No, I do think that it's really important to think about, you know, like I think a lot of people talk about street food as this thing that came along 10 years ago, and wasn't it cool? And then didn't it become ubiquitous? And, you know, what's going to happen now? It's like, let's remember that food traded on the street has been going on forever. It's literally been going on since the beginning of humanity, when someone rocked up with some beans and someone turned up with a cow and they made sweet music. Like, that's been happening. Or someone, you know, like mashed up some chickpeas and threw some flatbread in the fire. That's been happening, you know, and it's not going to suddenly go, oh God, no, I can't handle it. It's like, that's a sort of human law that we need to trade together. And us being really open-minded and really like smart about what that looks like going forward in a way that's not necessarily going to be relevant to apply the same ways that we were doing as before. That was a really weirdly said sentence. I hope it made sense, but but it's not, you know, it's like, it's not just going to go away. It's going to find a way. It's going to be like water, you know, and if it can't get down the river, it's going to, you know, evaporate and turn into a cloud. It's just like, we've just got to think a bit more, you know, ecosystemly about it, and how we're going to need to be to make it work. But it's going to work. Like, it's just going to work. People are going to always need to eat, and people are always going to find ways to feed people. What the bit in the middle is, and the opportunity in the middle is, like, what is that way? And just having an open mind to what that is. It might not necessarily be a 3 meter by 3 meter gazebo parked up next to others on a street anymore, or it might, you know, like, just big thinking and open-minded thinking, and lots of conversations with the people around you to really come up with a well stitched together plan and platform is, you know, that's rebuilding the future in, you know, revolutionary way. Even if it's only on a local level, that still can be revolutionary, and we should never shy away from thinking like that.
I agree.
Good.
Thank you, Petra. I think we've run out of time now.
Oh no.
But if people want to hear more from you, they can watch your TEDx talk on YouTube. We'll put the link in the comments. I'm going to throw it back to Jack. Hi, Jack. You're back.
Jack's back.
Jack's back.
Jack's back, and his microphone is okay.
So much better.
Yay. I think, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. It's sorted. Yeah, I love that. I love the philosophical exploration of like every facet of your being and business right now that people are going through. And yeah, it's painful sometimes, but ultimately positive.
Your body may be stuck in a house, but your mind's free.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Petra.
Thanks,
Thank
Petra.
you. Good
See you
luck.
soon.
I'm looking forward to watching.
Great.
Okay. I'm
Cool.
going to leave you as well, Jack.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So that was a really great talk from Petra about the opportunities that people can find through crisis, and also like a time for true entrepreneurs to shine, but also to the coming back to 10,000 years of human history and civilization. And yeah, people need to eat, and people can start a business just with a cow and some beans, like Petra said. And some people who know a little bit about cows and probably beans as well is Smoke and Bones, who are our next speaker for today. So every workshop we do, we always try and have someone who's come through our incubator program. So our incubator program is an opportunity for new street food businesses or people who really want to push themselves and maybe take it to that next level. We give them used to be 3 months of trading, but now it's slightly different timeframes depending on the situation people are in. And Smoke and Bones did the incubator program in 2018, and we've got them with us today talking about their incubator journey, everything from making brisket and beans to like what the next step of their journey is and what they're up to right now. So hi Miriam.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
That's okay. Hope you're doing all right.
I'm not going to ask you too many questions because you're going to talk about your incubator journey now. But I'll definitely ask you some questions afterwards. Yeah, how are you at the moment? How are you feeling?
Yeah, quite bored. But yeah, not too bad. It's been kind of good because obviously we've stopped trading, but we've had so much support from people, and that really kind of helps us to get through this quite difficult time.
Yeah, it's the community of people.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna let you to go through your incubator journey,
Okay.
and then once you're done, just let me know, and we'll go through some questions that people have sent us. So
Okay.
go for it.
Okay, so as Jack said, I'm Miriam from Smoke and Bones, and I'm going to go through our incubator journey. So the first thing that I wanted to sort of go through is how it started. So my husband, as you can see in the picture, that's me and my husband. And we started Smoke and Bones. At the time, it was called London Smokehouse. I used to work in the pharmaceutical industry, and he's a web developer. And I was kind of bored of my job. I was also like traveling up north all the time and leaving my family behind, and I wasn't really enjoying it. And the other thing was that we loved cooking, we loved food, and every year we used to have this annual barbecue where we'd invite all our friends over, and that's where we made our first brisket. And in the picture there, you can see our first ever brisket that we made.
Yeah, that's such an amazing photo. I love it.
Yeah, it doesn't look as great as the brisket that we make now, but I mean, it was the first one, and everyone enjoyed it. And so we thought, we wanted to start a business. We enjoy food, and there was no other place doing American barbecue that serves halal meat, because we eat halal meat. So we wanted to kind of include everybody in enjoying the food. So yeah, that was really how it started and what made us want to start. So after a few months of trialing out brisket, having people over like nearly every weekend to try it out, we managed to get this gig at the Strong Room Bar in Shoreditch, and it was in December.
Wow.
And it was really cold, and we didn't have a van. We just bought like our gazebos from Tesco. You could tell that it's like a cheap gazebo. We had like this floppy banner, this cheap folding table that like broke your back when you had to slice the brisket because you had to bend so low. And we kind of didn't really sell that much. and we were working crazy hours because we'd get there for 11, and there was hardly anyone there for lunch. The only time we had business was in the evenings when people would come to the bar for a drink, and we were so determined to sell everything that we had because we had nowhere to store any leftover food, and we worked so hard to smoke it for 12 hours. We didn't want to throw it in the bin, so we used to stay there till about 2-3 in the morning until we sold everything, and then come back home, prepare more brisket. So we hardly slept basically, and it was really difficult. It was I think it was one of the hardest experiences I've had in street food. But the feedback that we got from people was great, and everybody enjoyed the food. And eventually, as time went on, we had people coming back and bringing their friends with them just to try our food. So that was the good thing that came out of it.
Yeah. Even if it's not making that much money, you're starting to figure out like who's interested in your food, like what is it that people are enjoying about it, like what are they going to talk about it with other people.
Yeah, exactly. So we had really good feedback. We didn't have like one complaint, and we actually had this one guy who came back and bought everything that we had. So I had this pie heating thing, which you can kind of see in this picture, and that's where I put the brisket to keep it warm and hot hold it. And we had this guy that just came back and he bought everything that was in there, and he just said, "Give it all to me." And then he messaged us on Instagram on the way home, and it was like 2 in the morning, and he said, "I finished all that food," and it was a lot of food. He must have enjoyed it. So yeah, so that's how London Smokehouse was born. So after doing the strong room, we thought, we didn't really know much about lunch markets. We didn't know how to get into lunch markets. So we thought we'll go, and because we were still working full time as well at the time with our day jobs, we thought let's just do a few festivals which are going to be on the weekend, and we'll see how that goes and the response that we get there. So we managed to get a gig at Olympia for a shopping festival, and this is me and my friends, because couldn't afford to pay anyone, so we had to get our friends to help us out. Even like the artwork, one of our friends drew it for us on the blackboard.
Yeah.
And that was a really good experience because it was the first time we ever like catered in bulk for people, and we had to do over. I think we ended up doing about 300-400 portions, and for someone who hasn't ever done catering in their life, to serve that many people, it was a challenge. But we had a good system, and we were fast and everything. But we learned a lot of things on the kind of how we made the food, and we over ordered on buns. For example, we ordered like 1,000 buns from a bakery, and then after the event we had no use for the buns, so we ended up throwing like 500-600 buns in the bin because they all went bad. So yeah, we learned quite a bit, but also we kind of I think we learned that we need to get more people involved and working with us, because we couldn't just do it on our own. And it was at this event that actually I injured myself quite badly loading the van, and we realised that we need to get more people on. Awais and I, so my husband and I, we couldn't just do it on our own, and it basically took him 4 hours to load the van that night because I sprained my ankle. And we was like, it was quite difficult, but we learned a lot. So after that, we did an outdoor festival at Westfield, and basically we gained such a great following from the shopping festival that people were waiting for us to show up, where we were going to show up next. And we sold out at 4 o'clock, and we were really unprepared for that because we didn't want to make the same mistake as we did at Olympia and over order or over make food.
It's that constant push and pull, isn't it? You just never know.
So we then ran out of food there, and we had a lot of disappointed customers because people had travelled quite far to come and try the food, and then they found out that we sold out at 4 o'clock and the event was meant to end at 10. So you can imagine. but I mean, obviously we then learnt from that. And then we did a halal food festival. And at this point, we said we can't use our small smokers in the barbecue. We have to invest in an industrial type smoker.
Wow.
So we found an industrial type smoker, and we started, really churning out them briskets. And for the halal food fest, what we did was we thought we need to prepare in advance. If we have an emergency, like at the Westfield Festival, where we need more stock, we need to have that ready. So we'd converted our dining room into sort of like a prep area. We got rid of our dining table. We had this massive chest freezer there. And we thought if we'd cook briskets in advance and then froze them, then we could, reheat them on the day, and it worked out well. But I made a silly mistake of thinking I could defrost 30 briskets. That's about 400 kilos of briskets in an igloo cooler overnight. And with all of them all together, it just didn't work. So we had a bit of a disaster there, but we made it work in the end.
Yeah. It's the only way you learn, right? Like, especially if you don't have that food catering background, which a lot of people who go into street food and any type of food business do. Like you have to do these experiences and be like, oh, that's how you defrost meat, oh, that's how you load a van in this time, and those kind of things, just by taking opportunities.
And it's because it's in such bulk. It's so different from just cooking one brisket or two briskets, which is what we were doing at Strong Room, for example. We were just taking about 2-3 briskets a day. Yeah. So after the halal food festival, we thought, okay, this could work as a business. And then that's when I think I attended the KERB workshop after that. Because I decided this is actually what we want to do. And we then did Notting Hill Carnival, which was a complete disaster. We just managed to break even, but it was raining all weekend, and we didn't sleep for 2-3 days because we had to have a double setup, and at that point we didn't have a double setup. So we're running around London trying to find another gazebo at 11 o'clock at night, and then loading the van, unloading it, and it was just a complete nightmare. So and then after having that rainy weekend, we actually thought we're going to pack it in and we're not going to do this anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That weekend, I think, kind of broke us a bit because, I mean, it was so difficult. I can't even explain. It was just loading the van, unloading the van. Everything was in the house, and then driving from East London all the way to West London multiple times, and and there's a lot of security with Notting Hill Carnival, so it's not very easy to do. So you have to be there at certain times. So it was very difficult. And we thought, we're not going to continue with this. And it was on that weekend, I think it was on the Monday, I heard back from KERB. And that was after a couple of months of nagging Ollie. And literally I called him so many times. I think I woke him up a couple of times. Because I used to let me call him really early, just so that he has no excuse to tell me he's busy, and trying to tasting, which brings me on to the next slide. So, So what happens is I came to this tasting and I had a brisket with me, and I had it in a hot box, and I think everyone in the KERB office thought, what is this person going to show me that's so amazing that I haven't tried before from this one little box? Because literally that's all I had, a little box. And I pulled out this brisket, and as soon as I sliced it and it was just juicing out, everyone in the KERB office just went nuts, and they were like, nice. So tasty. And so we thought, I thought, okay, we have a chance, because bear in mind, we haven't had brisket from anywhere else. Even till this day, we've only tried our own brisket, because obviously we can't find a good halal version of it. So it was great to hear back from people who obviously have tried loads of brisket before, and tell us that, this is the real deal. So we joined InKERBator. I'm just going to quickly go through what happened in the first few weeks and months of InKERBator. basically my first day, we got to West India Quay. We started off really strong. We had like everything set up. As you can see here, this is our first setup. This is what it looked like. And basically, I drove the van out to put it into the car park, and the bollard at West India Quay went into the van. And basically, the bumper was like dragging on the floor, and it was just so horrid. And I was just like, oh my God, what have I done? And that was like £1,200 that we had to pay out of our pocket to Enterprise because of the damage done to the van. So that was the first day, and I'll never forget that, because it started off well, and then it was just like, oh gosh, what has just happened? And then on the weekend, KERB introduced Hornsey Town Hall on the weekends, and Awais, my husband, misread the email, and he told me I didn't need a gazebo, and I turned up without a gazebo, and I thought, oh my God, I'm definitely not going to pass Incubator, because they obviously must think I'm a joke or something, because I haven't, brought my gazebo. But luckily there was a spare gazebo there, so I was saved yet again. And then obviously for, the one thing that I had difficulty with during Incubator was staff. And I think everybody has this issue.
Yeah.
And the issue was basically when I started this business, I was only 24. And everybody that I had hired was always older than me, and thought, I don't know, I think this is just what I felt from how, staff treated me, was that, this person's young, they've started this business, it's probably not serious. And I had staff who would change my recipes just because they thought I didn't know what I was doing, because I was so young.
Yeah.
But, I learned a lot from that, and how to manage people and how to choose the right staff. And we also had somebody who was stealing from us as well.
Oh, wow.
Which was an experience, because I was quite, I think it was also because I was quite young, I was a bit naive.
Well, I've got two questions for you, just from that. So we have a question from Bad Boy Pizza Society saying, during that like stage of the side hustle stage, so maybe like before Incubator, but also during it, like did you get to a point where you felt confident with the business financially, or was there a point where you were just like, I need to take the risk now? Like even if it's financially not making sense right now, I just need to give it my all and do it.
I think the great thing that I think the only time that we were actually sort of at a loss was when we were doing a strong room gig, and that was for a month. And then after that, the big sort of festivals that we did luckily break even, or just about break even. So it, in the first year of business, I didn't really expect to make money. It was more about getting the feedback from people to see if I can build that following, and if there is actually a place in the market for me. So yeah, I think, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. And also they're asking, were there people like reaching out to you, or were you finding those opportunities yourself?
So unfortunately, I had to literally, you have to, because you don't have a name out there, you have to literally call up. So what I would do was after work, so I used to work as a medical rep, so I had some time before appointments with doctors to make a few phone calls, and I'll try and make a few phone calls each day to lots of different people, lots of different organisers. But because we didn't have a name, we didn't have a reputation yet, it was very difficult securing events and stuff like that. Whereas now we find that people approach us, which makes that a bit easier.
Okay, cool. Okay, so so obviously you did Incubator, and the result was
so the result was we passed Incubator. And then I'm just going to quickly go through here some of the benefits of Incubator, and why people should actually try and do incubator. And if you have a product that you believe in and that it's really tasty and you love it, then go for it, because I mean, people will see that love and passion when you serve up that food, and if you pass that love and passion on to your staff as well, they'll also pass that on, and it's a great kind of feeling. So the benefits of doing incubators was that it proved to us that it was a feasible business, that it could work, that people do enjoy the food. But I think the most important point was we had a lot of support from KERB. So be it from like the small details, like what type of packaging we used, how we present our food. Before, we kind of just sort of chucked it in a box and didn't really think about, what it looked like. It was more about the taste, whereas now it's sort of it's about the look, it's also about the taste. The taste always does come first for us, but you have to have the look too, so that it's memorable for people. And we found what works and what doesn't work on a lunch market. For example, the dishes that we cook are quite meat heavy, and we found that it doesn't work on a market earlier on in the week, where people would prefer to have, say, a salad bowl or a rice bowl, and we're more of a cheat meal option, and people would enjoy us more on a Thursday or a Friday. So yeah, that's what we found out doing incubator. Yeah. So this was our incubator batch.
It's a great photo. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everybody on here, like in the batch, they were amazing people, and we all became friends, and it was sort of like going to school a bit, because we used to always cheer each other up and support each other when we had bad days, like in the rain and stuff like that. So yeah, so we passed the incubator, and we decided that we need to rebrand. We just thought the black and white branding just wasn't working for us. And so we also changed our menu, and we made it a menu that was a bit easier for us to do. So we started taking a few shortcuts with the sides. So we used to serve sausage, mac and cheese, and potato salad. But the disadvantages of those was that once the mac and cheese finished, it would take another half an hour to make another tray or another batch. So we couldn't push out the portions as fast as we wanted to. So we invested in a fryer, and we started doing chips. And I didn't want to do chips, because the first side that we did was like cornbread, and it was like, we had it homemade, and it was just so good, but it just didn't work for the British public, having the Texan, authentic Texan barbecue. So we kind of changed it up. Yeah. For the London and British palate. And we also decided we need a better gazebo, and we need the dream team. And we thought we need to invest in some good people to help us run this business. Otherwise, do everything on your own. It was just a bit too much. So, pardon?
No, go for it. Keep you just glitched a bit, but it's all good.
So just a bit about the rebrand. So this was London Smokehouse before. This was when we were in Incubator, and this is our branding now. We've added colour to it. So a lot of people, when they start off, they do go for the black and white branding. I wouldn't recommend it, because in a market, there's everybody's like, it's full of color and full of like, movement and action and lots of things going on, and you need to have that color so that you can pop and you can stand out. And even if people won't remember your name, they might just remember the color scheme of red and yellow in our case, and then they'll tell their mate at the office, oh, it's that red and yellow. So it does help a lot. And it made, we looked much more professional, and we knew what we were doing at this point. So it wasn't, just to get whatever table, get whatever gazebo, and, sell some brisket.
Yeah, so, it's very eye-catching.
Yeah. So here I've just put some I just wanted to emphasize the importance of people for us, and our, our staff working for us. We managed to find some great staff, and like loads of people always ask, where did you find these people? And it literally, like, it was just luck, and obviously they enjoyed working for us, so they did want to stay. So Shivani up here has been working for us for 1.5 years, and Khalid down here has been working for us for about 1 year now, and they are both managers, so they have their own teams and they can do private events on their own, and they can prepare the brisket. So I've taught them the process from A to B, and they really enjoy it. And we're a family. We don't have a relationship where it's like I'm your boss, you do as you're told. I listen to their opinion, and they listen to what I think, and then we come up with a solution.
Yeah.
Because they're also very experienced. For example, Khalid's been a chef for 16 years, so he can give me some ideas that I haven't even thought of.
Awesome.
So yeah. That was just a quick thing about a team.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important.
It helps to expand as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you don't know if you can always be there. So
yeah,
you need to find people you can rely on.
Yeah, definitely. So after having the dream team come together, we then we couldn't, our homemade extraction, which is this picture over here, where we got these laundry pipes and connected them to the back of the smoker. There's these 2 vents of hot smoke coming out, and we just kind of put them out of the window so that our house doesn't get smoky. And literally we just couldn't keep up with the demands anymore, so we had to move out to Prep Kitchen with the lovely Dave and Nick. So Nick's from Cypress Kitchen and Taka Dave. I'm sure a lot of people have.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're really experienced in street food, and they give us really good advice, and it's just a nice vibe to be around people that are going through the same thing as you. They've obviously done it for much longer, so we always listen to their. They give us some good advice sometimes. So
and it's that community of people who give you ideas, who give you support, who introduce you, can recommend you. Like, it's a small world of people, and that introduction, that name, that connection can really take you far.
Yeah, definitely. So
we have 2 more minutes, or 2-3 more minutes, if that's okay.
Okay, I'll just quickly. I don't have that much to go through.
Great.
So as I discussed, having the great team, having a prep kitchen can then later on let you expand onto greater things. So we started doing private events, as you can see here, with Ludacris and Tyrese, at a private event that we did.
Really cool.
Yeah, and we just turned up, and we literally, the location of the event changed at midnight. So we got an email from KERB saying, actually, the location has changed. You're like going down like 20 more miles away from where you're meant to be. And they really enjoyed the food, and they invited us back the street meal while they were filming Fast and Furious. And this is just a setup of us at a private event. And the first event that we did was vegan canapes. Although we are quite a meat heavy option, we made a menu that was easy for, that was accessible to all. So from vegan to vegetarian to halal, we made sure we had that in our private events menu. So just to end it all on, basically, we opened our first store, which unfortunately was only open for 2 days, but we'll be back once Corona has gone.
Yeah, you'll definitely be back. What were those 2 days like?
So the 2 days were quite interesting. We had a lot of people that wanted to come down, but because we opened on a Monday, it was a Monday and Tuesday. So to be honest, I wasn't really expecting us to have crazy sales and stuff like that. But it was good to have our own kind of base, and people seemed to be very excited and wanted to come on the weekends, which is where we expected we'd be much busier. But just a note on this that I actually wanted to mention, which I think is very important for everybody, is that I've put here on a second point to treat every customer well. And the reason I've put that there is the only reason that we actually managed to get this, this opportunity was because we were actually doing an event at Battersea Park, and the head of talent for Camden Market was actually at Battersea Dog Show, and his dog won an award or something like that. And so he went to the park and he ate at our stall. And he loved the food so much that he invited us to have this opportunity. So, I mean, if our staff, I wasn't actually at the event, it was our staff that were there. But, you know, we've put that into our staff, that you have to treat everybody well. And trust me, there are some customers that will get on your nerves, you know, but you have to just keep your cool and treat everybody well, because you never know who they are and what opportunities they can open for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just what I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
And then on the final slide here, I've just got some snapshots of like our catering menu up here, and these two lovely weddings that we did last summer, and my son and Nick's son from Cycle's Kitchen tasted some burnt ends for a special that was going on our menu. So yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay.
I know that if people have questions, they can contact you on your email or your Instagram. And I know that you're doing some brisket deliveries this week, right?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I didn't know if I had enough time. So basically, we have brisket deliveries. So it's brisket, veal ribs, and beef short ribs that we're delivering vacuum packed and cold twice a week. So there's 2 delivery dates every week. So if you are interested in ordering, you can drop us an email or message us on Instagram, and especially since Easter's coming up, so you know,
awesome. What a way to celebrate. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Thanks, Miriam. And yeah, if you want to support Smoke and Bones or any of our traders, you can go to our campaign Keep the Wheels Turning, which is kerbfood.store online, and you can basically buy lunch or buy a gold card for our markets or $7 market and support traders during this tough time before we get back to normal. So yeah, I think that's definitely I think focusing on people is really important. And just like today, we have like 200 people watching this video now. It's the community of people and who you serve and who you sell to. It can really take you to where you want to go, treating every customer like the queen or king they deserve to be. So yeah, we're running a little bit behind, but that's okay. It's good. It's fine. We've got our next incubator, our next speaker who also did incubator. We have Dosmas in sunny Clapham. Look at that. Looks beautiful. Hi, Rupert.
How are you? All good?
Yeah, good. Look at that. So this is set up in your garden, right?
Exactly. So yeah, we set this up in our garden to give you guys a tour of what it's like, sort of doing a check on the market, what it's like to have a market manager like myself to do an inspection, and just running through the operations. And then Charlie might just dip in with a little bit about recipe development as well.
Cool. Okay.
So yeah, if you want me to start, we can go.
Yeah, if you just speak as loudly as possible and go for it. Just go through.
Glitchy because it's on my 4G. But
Let's go for it. Just show us what's in your gazebo right now.
Exactly. So what we do is basically, if myself or Jack or a market manager's on site, we always do a market manager checklist, and this is kind of like a standard, and that's to ensure that everyone is to a certain level, everyone's fit for trading, everyone's health and safety is on point, because that's exactly what we want. So what we're going to do is Charlie's going to be the trader and I'm going to be the market manager, and I'm going to penalise him if he hasn't set this up properly. So the first thing is first, there's everything's sort of looking fairly ready to go. Everything's looking nice and orderly. He's got his EPOS in place, his menu's kind of looking nice. And then what we'll do is we'll go backstage and we'll have a look.
Can you just speak a bit louder, Rupert?
Yeah, sure, no worries. Is this loud enough?
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, fine. So what we'll do is we'll go around to the back of the gazebo. and the first thing is checking his electrical and gas equipment. So let's come around. So a little bit about electric and gas equipment. So basically what we have is a quick safe system here. This is to ensure that it's all being certified by a gas safety engineer. It's all looking good. It's all like click, place in systems. You can kind of see here, it all sort of clicks in nicely. And then this runs to a bottle here with a nice regulator on there. I can't smell any gas, so that's looking fairly all in place, all in order. And this is a really good system to get. And you can buy these on NCAS website, which we'll dive in a little bit more to. But so far, that is a pass. It's out the way, it's safe. There's no trip hazards there. He's got a gas leak protection, so he can check if there's any bubbles once the gas canister's on. That's really important. You must check your gas, whether it's leaking or not, each time for trade. Because obviously there's lots of moving parts when you're setting things up. And the next thing, so I'm going to put that down as a pass. And then unlock this. There's no dirty, broken hoses. It's all fairly clean. And the next thing is the structure of the gazebo, which is really important. So we've got to make sure that there's a weight on each leg of the gazebo, which you can see here. Down here is a weight. So this is to ensure that the gazebo is weighted down nice and firm. It has to be about 13 kilograms. And you can buy these on, surf and turf website or gazebo websites. They'll normally ask to have weights with the purchase as well, which you can buy alongside, which is, you have to get it. It's legal practice to get that. We require 4, so 1 on each leg. And we've had incidents before where traders are packing down or not having weights. And on a windy day, we can't have that on the market, so we would have to send you home. Why gas, not electric? So you can go gas or electric. When I first started as a trader, we were a completely electric setup. And we still do have electric equipment as well. We just found that gas was easier, safer, more self-sufficient. We didn't have to rely on people's power. We didn't have to pay extra for power. So we just kind of wanted just a really simple, gas setup, stuff that we could just, rely on ourselves, completely self-sufficient, didn't really, want to have.
Yeah. And there's a whole guide on our website about gas and electric and equipment. What are you standing on right now?
Right now I'm standing on rubber matting, which is to stop grease going on lovely floors. So all around London, especially at events as well, it's really important not to get any grease. You've got to leave the place how you found it, which is clean, tidy, no oil, no grease on the floor. And to do that, we've bought rubber matting, which we did actually buy from KERB, because KERB does sell rubber matting. It's really important to do that.
Okay.
And then go for the next. So that's a pass because it covers all the gazebo and all around the cooking area.
Yeah. Rupert, if you just stay clearer, if you stay closer to the phone, then the microphone is much clearer.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we've done the flooring protection, we've done the weight protection, weights are on, we've done the gas protection as well. The next thing is fire safety, which is a really important one. So we do have a fire blanket hanging up, but what we do have is a dry powder extinguisher. It's 6 kilograms in weight, and it's a powder, and it covers all types of fires, which is A, B, C, and also electrical fires. So these are very versatile fire extinguishers. You can buy these sort of on Amazon, really easy, ready to go. It's in pressure, which is what we check for. It's nice, clean, tidy, the pin's in, and that's ready to go for the worst case scenario, which very rarely happens. We've got a question here, which is, where did you buy these tables? These tables came from Surf and Turf, which is the same place where we got the gazebo from. And they're really, really good. Again, on the NCAS website, you can also buy them on there as well. They do a fairly cheaper deal. But very easy to open out, very versatile, very robust. They've lasted us for 3 years. We've never actually had to buy another table. And they're really, you can pack them away, put them in your van really easily. So I really recommend these tables, actually. And they're 3 meters long. So it actually goes the whole width of the gazebo. So as you can see here, we've got one for our frontage, which covers the whole front. So it kind of all looks very neat and tidy. And then on the back one here, we've got a cooking station here. And on the cooking station, again, it's three meters. So it's, it's nice open countertops to work with. You can prep your food on there, everything. We also use the front to prep food and have, side salads or.
Oh, I think we've just momentarily lost them there. Might just give it a second. Oh yeah, there we go. And I saw.
Still online, Jack?
Yeah, you are. You just come back. So I can see a food safety book in front of you. Do you want to talk about that? Rupert, can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. I think what we'll do is we'll probably pause it there, but hopefully I think that gave a good indication of the kinds of things that if you're thinking of setting up a street food business, you can get. A lot of them are very easily accessible to buy. We actually have a street food starter pack where you can get loads of advice on all of the kind of things that Rupert was talking about, and there's also some discounts for people going through that. So we'll give you a link to that in the YouTube comments a little bit later. So our next speaker, we've got Cara Bendon, who is a branding consultant. She's in sunny Cardiff right now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's quite right. Yeah.
Great. How are you today?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, I've been enjoying hearing the other the traders speaking.
Yeah. What did you think of the branding?
Yeah, really nice, and it was. I really agreed. I was pretty much nodding along when Miriam was sort of saying about colour and the importance of using colour wisely and just having an identity that is clear, can't be confused with other businesses, standing out in the marketplace. Yeah, and just the fact that she went from, having a mate write the board to then, realising how to invest properly in making everything look better, the brand and the packaging and the food presentation was, definitely very aligned with the tips I would give a food trader. So it was really cool to hear.
Good. And those are all things that you can focus on and refine, even if you can't go outside right now, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So, thanks so much to KERB for inviting me to be part of this. So I have given a talk for KERB before on street food branding, but obviously we pivoted it a little bit for now. And actually, instead, we're just focusing on 3 things that you can do while you're not trading in this sort of forced downtime. Because like all of the KERB gang are saying, there is a lot of opportunity out there. And after this, people are going to go mad for wanting to go out and eat and have these social experiences again. So actually, there's quite a lot of stuff that when you're busy trading and you're, driving from market to market based on, different schedule, you just don't really have the time to do these things. So actually, it's quite a good opportunity. So I'll just talk you through my 3 things now. I'm not particularly experienced with live, so what I'll do is if the guys just let me know if there's an important question, I'll just answer those probably at the end. But do ask me any
well, if there's any questions, I'll let you know.
Awesome, thanks. It's like having my own team. It's great. Okay, so basically, the 3 things that I think would be really, really good that I would advise all street food traders or those of you who are thinking of setting up a food stall is to, sorry, I've got my email coming up. So first of all, I would say before you go any further with your business, stop and question whether the name you've given your business is the strongest name that you could give it. The reason I decided to put this in is because everything that you do from here on in, you're building up, in terms of brand, you're building up a reputation and awareness, and it all needs to come from a strong foundation. And so I think that, having a name that is strong is an essential, really. So a good name, I think, should be catchy, if possible. It should be clear. So I'll come back to clear in a minute. But it should be catchy and easy to remember are probably the most important, because in terms of clear, you can use, obviously, in terms of brand names, non-food related, we've got Skype, we've got Google, we've got all these different kind of brand names that are made up, but they've had to work very, very hard to create awareness of what their product is. So actually, and especially when it comes to food businesses and food markets, people don't want to be confused because there's so many options available. They want to know if it's Indian street food, or if it's vegan Mexican, or, you know, if it's poke bowls or burgers. They just want to know. So I think that actually when it comes to food businesses, whether you spell out exactly the product you do, or whether you just go for something that basically indicates the style of cuisine, I would recommend the latter. But I think it's important that you give people a clear signal what kind of food they can expect from the name, the color, the vibe of your stall.
Yeah, that's definitely important. Like we talk to people a lot about that, because people, especially at our lunch markets, because people have a very small amount of time, and there's still fun and creative ways that you can say what you're doing, but ultimately it has to be clear. Like I've seen people make a decision from like 50, 20, 30, 40 meters away because they can see something stand out.
So true. So this is it. So when it comes to creating your van, you know, your food truck, whatever it is, it actually, I remember that when I was doing this talk before, I was really, really drawn to Club Mexicana, and what they do, especially for festivals, is they just put like vegan, I think they put vegan tacos or vegan Mexican food, like really, really large above their stall. It doesn't even, like, they have their brand name throughout their stall, but what they put in neon lights that can be seen, like, as you say, 50 meters, 100, 200 meters away, is actually their food type. So you know instantly what it is. But obviously their name, Club Mexicano, it gives you an indication. So it doesn't have to be super literal, but I think that if you make it there's a temptation to make it quite in-jokey or punny, and that's great, but it's got to translate to other people. So it can't just be something that you've always thought was cool, or a nickname people gave you, because that just doesn't translate, even though it's sweet as a story. So
street food traders love puns. Like,
I know. I love a pun. There's nothing wrong with a pun, but I think you've just got to make sure people get it. So yeah, basically one of the resources I was going to suggest at this time is actually do a bit of market research. And so you can do things online with, like, you know, SurveyMonkey, or you can create a type form and you can send it out to people. There's loads of Facebook groups. There's loads of places like that you can share your surveys. But also, if you have got a certain target market in mind, you can literally just pay, you know, for that kind of respondents to answer your surveys online.
Or if you're on a Zoom call with like 20 people, you know, your friends, and just ask people's feedback.
Well, here's the thing. I would recommend a little bit of distance from it, because your friends are going to tell you they love it and you're great and it's amazing and you're going to be a millionaire. So, because that's what friends are for. They're supposed to big you up. So I think, you know, that's why a little bit of distance is good. Just if you're asking people about the name, try not to lead them. So just instead, maybe present a name to them and say, what would you think this business is? Or what would you think this is? You know, rather than what do you think of this, or adding any intonation like, oh, I've been thinking about a name and I've come up with this. You know, I really like it. What do you guys think? Because that's just very leading. So, there's lots of resources online about market research. You know, like you say, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be doing like, you can have 5 people, but just trying to ask people without leading them is quite interesting. Because, I mean, I had somebody, one of my friends suggested a name for something she was looking at, and she wanted to call it something, and I won't disclose what it is because it's a startup, but, you know, straight away I could see why she basically put 2 words together, but it sounded like something else, and I felt like I had to be the one to tell her that straight away. You'll just waste time and money. And so even if it's a bit heartbreaking to have one of your, like, you know, a name you think is awesome, people tell you it makes them think of something else, you know, don't be precious, because you'll just waste time and energy trying to get people to understand what your business is if it's not clear.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, the last point on that is basically make sure your domain is available and all the social media handles, or all the social media handles you intend on using. That doesn't mean you have to have a clean sweep of everything: YouTube, Tumblr, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everything. Just the ones you know that are going to be big for you. So I would definitely say you need your Instagram and probably your Twitter. But use the service. So there's a website called Nanban.com, and there you can search for domain availability, but it will also tell you if it's available on social media. And I really recommend trying to get the name you choose without having to put like official or underscore or anything like that in front or behind it, or having to shorten any letters, because all of those things make it seem less consistent, and consistency is very important in terms of creating an image of a confident trader, trustworthy, professional. So I think that's that's enough on naming. But if you do need to know anything more about naming, I've got a guide, a free guide on my website. So if you go to carabendon.com/blog, there's loads of resources there, but I've just highlighted the one there, which is how to name your business. And that exact process that I use on there, I think there's a free PDF download as well, but that is the exact process that I use with clients in brainstorms. So yeah, you may find yourself having to throw a lot of names out there before you find the one, but this is perfect time for it. So no excuses. All right, so my second point is to really get on social media. And you know, this may just sound like one of those typical things that a marketer will say and you just don't really have time for, or you feel like, well, you can't really promote, you know, usually you do social media to talk about where you're going to be this week, you know, what's new on the menu, share some photos of food. But the truth is there's actually a huge opportunity here, because people are on their phones more than ever, and you've got to try and bridge the gap and not be forgotten, essentially. So if you keep showing up in inventive ways, then, you know, actually you're going to maintain that audience loyalty, or begin to get it. And that's really important, especially if, say, this breaks up and we're able to start trading again in the summer or the autumn or whenever it is. You know, laying the foundations now. Yeah.
We worked our last workshop. We had Iche, who did a really good workshop, and they have a place in Shoreditch. And before they even started trading, they had started doing vegan recipes on their Instagram. Amazing. And there was someone at their stall at 8:30, even before they'd set up. So they've been putting the groundwork for like a month, 2 months, 3 months before they first ever traded. And it showed them like, oh, you know, if we do this regularly and we do it in our way, in our own style, like there is an audience for us. There are people who connect with us.
Isn't that brilliant? Like, isn't that brilliant? And this is the thing. This is why it's good to have your own kind of audience, because when you're at a market, then there's footfall. But actually having your own audience is what will help you in terms of, like, if people are doing going to buy anything from you over the next few months. So if they're going to buy like takeaway or, you know, delivery or recipe packs or anything that you are offering at the moment, then actually it's going to be based on them knowing, liking and trusting you, or like, you know, and you know, starting to get to know your content. Anybody, for me personally, you know, it's like, what is it, week 3 of kind of working from home and lockdown, and like anybody who brings something interesting to my day, you know, there's somebody whose content I'm going to instantly like and save and maybe share. Yeah. So actually you've got this possibility for huge amounts of engagement with your content, whereas normally everyone's actually pretty busy. So, I mean, I don't mean anything. I mean, you know, the useful stuff. But Instagram is the #1 social media for street food in general. And in my longer workshop I deliver, I give some tips on how to make, you know, really good, how to make your Instagram really good. So how to take better photos and things like that. I think there is an opportunity to go online, search, you know, best at home food photography or DIY food photography, and look at those tutorials. But even if, you know, if you're able to make one of your dishes at home and photograph it there, brilliant. But actually, you know, people can't get all the ingredients for things at the moment. So even just sharing the situation is good. So I'll bring you my tips for the kind of content I think works really well. So in a crisis, basically, these are the kind of most important points that I think will work. They work for most businesses at the moment, but can definitely work really well for street food. So first of all, definitely acknowledge the situation. I know that sounds really obvious, but sometimes people just want to seem positive online, and so they might just post other things. It will just look like you're, like you don't know what's going on in the world, or you don't care, and either of those things aren't good associations. So you can acknowledge it, but you can acknowledge it in things like, I know we're all indoors at the moment. You try not to use language too much like stuck indoors, can't get, dying for this or whatever, just because, it's great to build FOMO, but people are stuck indoors. So, but acknowledge the situation. And then this is where you can make your relatable content. So if it's within your brand tone of voice to be quite humorous, there's so many good memes coming out at the moment about, lockdown and quarantine and stuff like that. And loads of them relate to food, the fact that we're constantly working from our kitchen tables and all that. Just, I'd suggest definitely trying to make your own, have a bit of fun with it. But if your brand isn't super jokey, or that seems a bit off brand, then just share, like, you can share things like recipes or tips for making your, pimping your lunch a bit or whatever. You can also share the behind the scenes. So do share the impact it's having on your business, because people are interested in hearing these stories. So, you can put on there, we had some events cancelled, that's fine. But I would encourage you, if possible, to try and tell the story a bit. So you can say, right now, we have 1,000 frozen baps for an event we're supposed to do next week. Any ideas what we should do with them? Or, or you can, it can be literally sharing your, your routine now that you're at home. It doesn't all necessarily have to be about food, because you're building yourself as a personal brand that they will kind of be drawn to. And so the next two tips are pretty intertwined. I'd say use video, show your face, show who it is behind the brand, and just keep communicating. So with video as well, you could also do some really nice things like recipes, or lineup of ingredients. You can show, and you can use old video if you've got old things. You can do throwbacks and stuff like that. But it would be really sad to see one post saying, sorry, we're closed, we won't be at the markets in March, and then not see anything until July.
This is an opportunity to show all the layers of you and your brand. It's not just your food. Like, there's so much more that your food represents, and now is an opportunity to really think about what that is, and or just figure out, find out what it is rather than know.
Yeah, that's totally cool too. Exactly. You could be kind of, if you haven't quite created a brand yet, you could be doing this on your own Instagram, and therefore people are going to be really warmed up to it on your own personal network by the time you launch brand. But yeah, exactly. So, sorry, I had a good thought there, but it's gone clean from my mind. But yeah, I think it is, it's a good opportunity to, as you say, show the layers. Oh, that's what I was going to say. If you do have a brand name, you can always introduce yourself. So a really good branding tip is basically act like you're already there. So if you want to be this certain success model, you want to be, this trader, then instead of sort of saying, my name's Cara and I'm trying to set up blah, 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 you can say, hi, it's Cara from, and whatever the brand name is. So you can say, hi, it's Cara from the Gourmet Salads Kitchen. Terrible name. I just didn't know what to think. But, introduce yourself that way. You're further reinforcing both you as part of the brand, and the brand name. And the idea of introducing you as part of the brand is very powerful, especially in a time where we're only having digital communications, because people buy from people. So yeah, and then the third point is to sort out your branding. So I think definitely in the first instance, I know that I solely work with startups and solo entrepreneurs. So I know that budget is like the biggest barrier to getting branding done properly at the beginning. And I know a lot of people just go out with a free, you know, logo generator type website creation to begin with, or get a mate to do it. But without any sort of bias, it's so worthwhile sorting your branding out, because it's fine. You can totally do that at the beginning, but you know that you're going to be playing small. Like, that's fine if you're just testing the water with your cuisine, your setup. You're not 100% if you want to do this as a lifestyle or whatever. But I think that you reach a limitation within that, and you're going to have to step up at some point. So basically, I've created, so let's have a look. So yeah, sorry, branding usually takes a few weeks to get right. So this is a good time. So I did work with a food trader before, and actually it was impossible to get sign-offs for things because weekends are work, weekdays are work. So actually this is a really good time that you can maybe get it done, do it really well, and not feel like you're pumping money into something, but you're just having to check emails on the fly. So that's a nice benefit. So yeah, to give you guys an idea, it depends on the designer you work with, but branding can take anywhere between sort of 3-4 weeks and 2-3 months, depending on the process you're going for. So, and I know that always stuns people, because people seem to think it'll probably just take like a day to create a logo. But the thing is, and you know, you can find loads more resources for this on my website, but branding is so much more than just a logo. When you get your branding done properly, that person will consider your van, your outfits, whether you wear a uniform, a t-shirt, an apron, your social media, your packaging, your food type, your photography. It's everything. It's the image that you want to project from everything. So first of all, I've created a free checklist on my website. So if you go to carabendon.com/free checklist, so by doing this, you will sign up to my newsletter. Full disclosure, I email once a fortnight. It's always relating to branding. You can unsubscribe anytime, but you will get sent this PDF, and it's literally a checklist. So you can go through and say if you've got these things already, like whether you've got your social media handles, whether you've got a brand name, whether you've got brand colors, brand fonts, etc. And at the end, it will give you a bit of a rough score and some guidance what you need to do next. And following that, there's a link that goes through to my website with a load of resources. So when you find out your score, it will tell you what you need to do next. And then on my website, there's loads of tips to do that.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah, no, that's okay. So yeah, because it's I mean, it is a bit of a quick snapshot. It's not, you know, it's not a full audit. If you want a one-to-one, like, it's best to, you know, speak to somebody like me, or, you know, whatever. But like, it is a helpful tool because, you know, on the converse side, people read about branding and they get intimidated by it, and they think it's really complicated and that they haven't done it right. And the opposite is true. It's really simple. It just needs to be done, you know, properly. So actually, you might be doing a lot more than you think. So so if it does come out, so basically here, so this is a kind of good demonstration of the power of branding. So yeah, I can't see all the comments, but yeah, essentially these guys both sell hot dogs, but on one side, you know, it doesn't, like on the left hand side with the sausage burger, the two different price things, the barbecue party, the you know, clip arts and style graphics, you know, it looks really unprofessional. And whereas, you know, OMD, oh my dog, it looks really, really clean and neat, and it looks professional. So I'm assuming most of you guys would probably rather eat from oh my dog based on this.
It's great branding, you know, and it's clear and it communicates what it is, and it's yeah, it's fun and whimsical at the same time.
Totally agree. And it's like, it's not overwhelming. It doesn't have to be really complicated, the branding, you know, and I could have chosen so many in this instance, but I wanted 2 stalls that both offered similar cuisine. And yeah, it's I think the fact that, I mean, this is a pun, but they've done it very well. So yeah, they've literally spelled out hot dogs and got an image of a hot dog in case there was confusion. So and then, yeah, so Rice Guys again, so they've got it on their cutlery, they've got it on their truck, their big van, which is beautiful, their Instagram, and even just the highlights. And this was an interesting one because aesthetically it's really different from a lot of the street foods style branding, but it really is within their aesthetic, and they're a very good example because they're very consistent with their brand colors, and they fully understand that branding isn't just having a logo and plonking it on something. Again, I really like Tucker, and the reason I included this is Tucker's is pretty simple, to be honest. But first of all, on the side of the truck, they've got their social handle, and they've just got one, because there's nothing worse than it's like, find us on Facebook and it's Tucker Burger Official. Find us on Twitter and it's actually. So it's just one. They're Tucker Burger wherever they are. They've got the honk if you want a burger, which is something I think they put on the back of the van. It just shows a bit of continued. So that's branding, because it's their tone of voice and it's humor that obviously works with their brand. And then they've even got it on the greaseproof paper for packaging. And it's just, the whole thing looks like a business of a far bigger scale. And when you go out as a small business and you project that level of sort of confidence and success that you can do with effective branding, then you attract success because you look established and credible and popular. And so that's kind of the power of branding.
Yeah.
Yes, like KERB, I see the comment there. Definitely. So yeah, what else have I got? So right, yeah, so basically it's a good time because at the moment, you know, lots of industries are being hit hard, and the creative industry is probably it's one of the worst hits. So I know so many graphic designers, all the graphic designers I work with. So I work with 6 different graphic designers at different points, and they all have, like, you know, checked in with me the last week to see if there's any work. So this is a good opportunity because actually, you know, people, they may like, so this is a fine point. You should absolutely pay graphic designers the right amount because it's, you know, it's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and you wouldn't want somebody to not pay you for your service. You know, it's about kind of being respectful to all freelancers, but equally, if you're honest about what your budget is, so, you know, don't try and like pull the wool over anybody's eyes and get like you know, a steal, because that's not really kind to anyone, and you probably won't get the best work for it. But if you're honest about what your true budget is, now is in any time, if you're honest about what your true budget is, you'll find quite a lot of designers, especially if you're flexible on things like timing or something like that, would be happy to work for slightly under their normal rate, as long as you know, really are upfront about your budget and explain your vision.
Yeah.
But I think especially at the moment, it's a great time. Like, people would really love to be doing a little bit of branding work for a new business.
Yeah, and it's about starting a relationship, you know, and even if that's just starting with a menu rather than the entire thing, you know, that's still something you might be able to afford, and, you know, work into other things from there.
Yeah, totally. Like, having a good relationship with a designer is a really good idea, because you're going to keep needing things as you go on. Like, yeah, you can even start with a social media graphic. It is a good idea to start with a brand, because so you've got an idea of your color palette and fonts and things like that, and the brand identity. But this is a great time because it is a partnership, so you can work really in partnership with them.
So we have 2 more minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'm so sorry.
No, it's great. People are loving it, so it's great.
Great. So I've also got a blog on my website. So again, carabendon.com/blog, and I've got a piece on there about how to find a good designer as well. I may update these as well during the week if I get time, because these are resources that are really handy that I'm sending out to a lot of people at the moment. So All right, that's me. That's it. So
thank you so much, Cara. Those like people are loving those insights.
Awesome. That's great. I haven't seen the comments, but I wish I'll have a catch up on them now.
Yeah,
awesome.
but one of the questions someone asked, they said, how much should a startup be prepared to pay for branding? Which I think is like, how long is a piece of string? But
totally.
Also, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I think that, oh God, this is so difficult because it depends exactly what you're looking for as part of that. Essentially, it usually falls between 1,000 and 5,000 to get branding done properly. But that might sound intimidating right now, and you can break it down. So usually, design usually comes in at about £250 a day. So essentially you are buying a huge amount of time for that. It's not, just that we mark up a huge amount. It is based on time. But I'd say if you were able, so for that reason, I'd say a minimum of probably about £500. Because then, I mean, at the moment, probably a designer most mid-level designers will charge out about £300 a day. There are cheaper, but it really is something about, there really is truth in, like, you get what you pay for. So just don't go for the cheapest. Better that you find the right person and you see if they're happy to go. If you've got only 400 or 300 or whatever, better that you have a chat with that person and see what they can do than just go and find somebody that fits within that budget.
And I think this comes back to, and it's a nice way to end and segue to our next speaker, because it comes back to people and relationships, and also to hustle and entrepreneurialism and using the connections that you have to get what you need for your business. So maybe just give that person 100 free meals. Who knows?
Well, that was one thing I was just going to say. Just don't not pay them, because we get shafted so much as graphic designers.
You always, you definitely need to pay people. Like even if it's like less than what like right now, you might be thinking like, there are lots more graphic designers, and a lot of them are freelance, and they're less, but you can still pay people for what you can afford. It's a great time to start a relationship with a good designer.
Yeah, so true. And I think I think most of the designers I know who are freelance are doing, that we really care about helping businesses. So we'd actually rather help you do the whole thing rather than just give a small amount of something, because we know what you're going to need. We know you're going to need the whole branding. But if you can, I mean, that can be spaced out over 3 or 4 months if you based on your cash flow or, whatever it may be. So, a couple of people asking how to get hold of me. Just come via my website, or I'm on Instagram, or come via KERB, because they can pass you my details as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I hope that the rest of it is really helpful, like, the bits that I saw, and that everyone gets a lot out of it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cara.
All right.
So that was really interesting to chat about branding. Even if it's just starting with your own ideas before going to a graphic designer or finding a friend who's a graphic designer, make sure you pay them and be honest about what your budget really is. So we have Ollie back in the room. Did you enjoy that?
Loved it. So good.
Yeah.
That was great.
I think there's a theme in all of the speakers that we've had today about people, and any business relies on people, but especially street food and serving food to people, and the opportunities that can come from using those relationships and treating people properly and fairly. And I think that's a great segue into our next and final speaker, who is Meriel from Club Mexicana. Hi, Meriel.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's been really fun to do this online. So obviously you run Club Mexicana, and you've gone from street food to bricks and mortar, and now you're obviously in a strange position like all of us, and are doing something amazing from that. So I'm going to leave Ollie to sit with you and talk about all those wonderful things. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jack.
Right, Jeremy Paxman's here.
You wish.
So we met, I think, in, I want to say 2014.
Yeah.
End of 2014, early 2015.
Memory, Ollie.
You came to our office. You made us some tacos. You made us the soup. Don't forget the soup. Can't forget that soup.
Oh yeah, the infamous soup that no one really ever wants to buy, but you guys really love it.
I thought it was delicious. And
never a portion of it.
So you'd started doing supper clubs by then, right?
Yeah, so that was just off the back of our first supper club run, which we did for like 6 weeks, every Saturday night at a cafe in Hackney.
And that was, you started that because, like, I mean, I don't want to talk about Club Mex and the history of it because, you know, everyone knows that. You couldn't find good vegan food in London. And you were like,
in 2014, it sort of seems crazy to say it now, but there literally like really wasn't anything. And I'd lived in Australia, I travelled quite extensively, like in America and Mexico and stuff, and all in places where like vegan food was great. And I got back in like 2012, and it was just shocking. Like the vegan options were just like a dry veggie burger without any sauces or anything, and like you'd go into a restaurant and you'd be like, oh, do you have any vegan options? And the like waitress would just be like no, and like everyone would be quite smug about it. So I just got really annoyed, and there was a cafe like down the road from where I was living in Hackney it was lovely. It was a really nice vegan cafe, but it was really like heavy on the animal rights stuff and quite like not very welcoming if you weren't vegan, which was sort of completely the opposite to what I'd experienced in America and in Australia. It was kind of like the vegan places there were almost like they were like where people wanted to go. They saw them as like super cool and healthy and interesting. So yeah, just kind of got bored with my job in advertising, quit that, and decided to set up the supper club with the help of my partner, or my now wife, Lois. Otherwise, like, cause she did all the organizational side of things. Otherwise, we would have had like no knives and forks or cutlery or plates or anything. So, yeah.
I was watching one of the early episodes of Gavin and Stacey the other day. And, Gavin's mum pretends to be vegetarian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, just go to the supermarket, grab anything with Linda McCartney on. But it's amazing now to see the difference between then, which Linda McCartney was pretty much the only game in town.
Yeah,
exactly.
Now
where basically pretty much any big food business does a vegan version of.
Yeah, exactly. I had to do like as a vegan like 6-7 years ago, you had to do like all your shopping in Holland and Barrett. Quite depressing. And now you can do it at any chosen supermarket. I guess now, as long as you are prepared to queue for a couple of hours. But yeah.
Or you can make your own vegan food. I hear there's a cracking Armenian vegan kibbeh recipe online that Jack's written that's just been released. So he'll be plugging that later. So you started at supper clubs, then street food, and then you started doing events, and then you went into Camden with us.
Yeah.
That was a big change, I imagine.
Yeah, so that was kind of taking what we've been doing with you guys. So I think our first market with you guys was like King's Cross every Thursday, and then we did a bit of street feast stuff, and then so it was kind of like a bit sporadic, like a Thursday here, like a gherkin here, whatever, and then sort of being catapulted into Camden with you guys, which was a massive change because it was a 7-day-a-week operation, albeit it was still kind of street food, like from a little wooden shack, but yeah, the operational side of things just got like really quite hard quite quickly. And I remember you set it up in like August, I think, and we just came back from like doing a massive I think it was our first Glastonbury, and just like, just gonna go and set up at Camden, thinking that it would just be like a normal market. And then I went to bed that night thinking like, this is never gonna end now. The only day that it finishes is the only day that it's not on is Christmas Day. And I got really panicked by it. That it's constantly running. There's always somebody there. And that's quite a difficult headspace to get into. But I guess since then, that hasn't that hasn't really stopped actually.
Yeah. For us, going from what we were doing before to 7 days a week was sort of like such a sea change. It blew our minds a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I do think you need to do it. You need to go through that massive shift to be able to grow the business.
Well, I think if you want to, like, if you want this to be a proper business and you want to actually like make a living off it, and you want other people within your business to make livings off it, there's no other option than going like, okay, maybe like 7 days a week constantly is maybe you might have Mondays or Sundays off eventually, but like without doing something that's pretty full on like that, you can't. Like the street food side of it is kind of like almost like the practice side of it, and then you have to keep on. You have to do this like constant. Even people who we know who do like kind of popping up as street food for make a living out of it, they do that like almost every day. Operationally, you have to get into this headspace of like doing it 7 days a week.
And then it's so crazy that like someone will go from doing 2 days a week to then 7 days a week, no breaks whatsoever, anything like that, and then trying to work out all the operations sort of on the fly, because you don't know what you're not ready for what's going to happen until you just do it.
No, yeah, exactly. But you do learn it, and it kind of like sorts the wheat from the chaff. If it it kind of like it's a really good way of demonstrating to you whether you can do it or not, because I think people think that when you get into like the bricks and mortar end of things that it gets easier, and it doesn't. It's just different challenges.
So do you think you've had to learn new skills at each stage?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Otherwise, if you don't pick up those new skills and learn as you're going, like you will fail. So yeah, I think the first thing is just making sure that you know that you just do it and you learn exactly how to just do it on the fly. I think that's kind of like a skill in itself, because there are so many disasters that happen on a daily basis, and learning how to like deal with them, move through it, and still like manage to get serving food at lunchtime despite all the things that have happened in the 3 hours previous, and then get through it again, and then do like the dinner rush again. That's kind of a skill in itself. And I think learning how to like grow and mature that business as you move along is really important. And I guess with like an organization with KERB, it's like building relationships and that network of people. I think like understanding that network of people, like you're going to lean on them so much in the next, like for me, it's like almost 6 years. So yeah, like understanding what are the things that you're going to need a little bit in the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Do you think you would have do you think it's better to have learned it as it happened? Or do you think you would have rather have gone to like a business school or like a cordon bleu course about running a business?
I definitely would have like dropped out of both of those. I haven't got the attention span, and I don't think a lot of people who kind of do a similar thing to me would also have done that. I think when you set up a business and you just like doing it and you just like sort of physically getting on with it, I think you're probably the kind of person who doesn't do well just sitting in a classroom listening to being told what to do. But I think like I enjoy learning on the fly, and I think I've probably learned as much, if not more, about business over the past 6 years than I would have done doing like an MBA or anything.
Do you think after 5 years of running a street food business, we should just start putting initials at the end of your name?
Yeah.
So you're now Meriel Armitage.
That.
What could it be, like SF something? Street food. So.
Yeah, we'll come back to that maybe.
Okay. So yeah, you think it's better to learn on the fly? Someone actually described starting a business as jumping out of a plane without a parachute and then trying to knit together a parachute whilst you're falling. Yeah,
pretty much. I think you also only really know you only really realize that in retrospect. So I don't necessarily want to tell all these people watching that that's what it's like, because that's like the secret that you know on the other side. But I don't know. I think it's like all big things in life, really. Like if you think about every single thing that you possibly have to do along the course of like, whether it's running a business or like progressing in your career in a different job, or like I don't know, being in a long-term relationship, whatever, it's all quite scary when you put it, if you looked at it as like a big going from like this point to this point and all the things that you need to do in between. So I think like most things in life, including this, are just like, if you just crack on with it and don't think too hard about the journey, and try and learn as you do it and like make the most out of that journey, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, it's the you know, how do you eat an elephant? Just one bit at a time.
Well, I'm vegan, so I wouldn't know that.
How do you eat an elephant-sized corn on the cob? One corn at a time.
She literally started barking when you said that about eating an elephant. She's not.
So this is actually a question that I was going to ask. Knowing that and knowing all the different like experience you've had over the time, what would you have told yourself 5 years ago? And I think TJ Worrell Thompson actually said a very similar thing. Just like one sentence.
You repeat the question. I literally can't listen to you and read a question at the same time. That's why I can't do a business degree.
If you could go back in time,
yeah,
Meriel starting a supper club, what would you say you would tell her? You'd be like, the number one thing you should do is don't do or do this.
I'd probably say something like, try not to sweat the small stuff too much. Like, I remember getting really stressed about really small things, and I still do it now, actually. I get really like bogged down in the kind of like whether it says sour cream and guacamole on a menu or just guacamole with some, like it's ridiculous. And I think you can save a lot of time and a lot of stress by like just kind of like keeping in mind the bigger picture, and like don't worry too much about the tiny little things, because they will kind of fix themselves. And also, like, if you have one bad market, okay, like things happen, disasters happen. You might just be at a market where, like, you know, the audience is just totally wrong. I remember like at King's Cross, we would have like massive queues of people because like it was all students and Google officers and stuff, and they were well into vegan food even before it was cool. And then like I think we did our first gherkin and we were like pretty quiet. Oh, the Canary Wharf, actually, like we were dead. And I was like, oh my God, this is awful. We're just going to shut the business. This is terrible. But I think, yeah, just like trying to maintain some kind of like vision of like this, there is a bigger picture going on here, and there's an end goal that I need to get to.
Yeah, I love that idea of having like that North Star that you're looking at, that is your sort of end vision. And whilst your like route might deviate on the way, exactly what you had planned, like you do a project that goes wrong, you do a project that goes way better than you thought, as long as you have that goal at the end that you're sort of aiming for.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it makes it so much easier.
You're constantly getting like pulled off the path by different things and people and shit going wrong, and or things can go really right, and you think wow, I've been like, you know, pushed forward to near the end, and then like something disastrous will happen and you're like, right, I'm right back at the start again. So yeah, it's a funny journey.
We got a question in from Fee. All
right, I'll concentrate on reading this one now.
Okay, I can read it out if you'd like as well.
Yeah, fine. That's better for me.
Was progressing to a bricks and mortar location always the end goal for Club Mexicana, or was this something you discovered that you wanted to achieve after starting?
Yes. So quite annoyingly, probably for this this workshop, I didn't really have an end goal like right from the beginning. And I kind of do now say that to people. I'm like, oh, make sure you have a vision and make sure you have an end goal. But no, we didn't for the first couple of years. I think that was a little bit because vegan food was so new in London, and it was all like, I mean, again, it seems ridiculous saying it now, but it was really crazy to actually think of like a fully vegan restaurant even like happening, even like being there. It was kind of like, oh, maybe we could just make like, you know, something more permanent out of street food and residencies, and, you know, we'll just keep on like changing it slightly and being in different locations, but we'll do that forever, which is not a it's not a good idea. It's exhausting. So yeah, and I think possibly like just for myself and like figuring out what I wanted to do, like I didn't really know anything about running a food business before starting this, so it took a couple of years to be like, yeah, like I get this, I like it, I'm all right at it, and I think we've built a brand and we have a team of people who can help us like catapult to the next stage. I think now, if we started again now as a vegan business, I would probably have a bit of a clearer idea of what I wanted the end goal to be, and probably it would be bricks and mortar. And I think, you know, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and I've learned along the way that the bricks and mortar, I think for a lot of businesses like mine, if you do want to make a real business out of it, it's at the moment it is kind of like it's one of the only ways in which you can really do that, because you know, you start having like you start building up a portfolio of leases, which are then assets to your business, and I mean it all gets a lot more serious, but people take you really seriously as a business at that point, and that's the reason why, because you've got these things that actually are worth something.
Yeah, I suppose when you're thinking of your vision, you don't really want to be like, where do you see yourself in 5 years with a portfolio of leases?
I know.
Yeah. I think you probably had that vision of, you're like, I want to make. You're actually, no, you did say this. You were like, I want to make really good vegan food that isn't anything associated with the old traditional, like hippie style of vegan food is. And I think regardless of whether or not it's street food events or a restaurant, you'd had that vision and you were still doing it.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. I think our vision was very much always more like, we want to take vegan food mainstream, and make it really accessible and really interesting to people, and also like do that through creating like a cool, fun brand that people like buy into. And I guess the difference for us, as opposed to maybe other street food businesses, is like, it was just the bricks and mortar thing was like, well, what is the platform in which that experience and taking it mainstream is delivered on? And that was what we were kind of like a little bit not quite sure about at the beginning.
That's what you need to work out along the way.
Yeah.
I actually met someone in Germany when we went to the street food congress in Germany, and there was this guy who's like, oh yeah, I had a fish taco in Camden. We were like, there aren't fish tacos in Camden. He's like, yeah, it was. He showed us a picture and he was like, that was vegan. We had no idea.
Yeah,
I think that's an amazing thing where someone's just bought stuff from your business. They've not like massively cared that it's vegan at all, because it doesn't really say it anywhere.
Yeah,
and then they've eaten it and been like, that was delicious, and then they find out later. It's like, oh yeah, you also didn't eat any meat whilst you were doing that.
You just want to trick the biggest amount of people possible as well.
What's your opinion on some of the money that's kind of flooding into veganism with stuff like the Impossible Burger? Because I think a lot of people right now are kind of quite keen on sustainability with food, and the way that it's all like, we're sort of we want to be more in touch with like farm to table basically. But if you start, and I think a lot of that is eating more vegetarian food and more vegan food, but I think a lot of the money that's coming in with like big business coming into the vegan world, what's your take on that, whether or not that is a positive thing, and that it enables people to access vegan food easier, or is it negative that it's too much money coming into food in the same way that McDonald's would do that?
Yeah, that's quite a big question.
Paxman.
Yeah, living up to your name. So yeah, I mean, I think, well, I mean, there's a few questions in there, really. I think, yeah, I mean, look, the amount of money that's going into, like, I guess you would call it like lab-based plant food or whatever, lab-based vegan food, like the Impossible Burger. Like, I mean, I wish that money was coming to me, but I think I think it's just money that's going into truly like scalable food. I think a lot of the money when it comes from like big investment firms, like, they don't really care whether it's vegan or not. What they care about is like something that can scale and make lots of money for them. And I think that's interesting in itself, because to me it shows that like there's a massive demand for plant-based food, particularly in the States, but obviously it's coming over here. And that to me is a really good thing. I've always been of the view that the more vegan food there is out there, whether it's like in supermarkets, whether it's like Burger King doing the Impossible Burger, or McDonald's developing their own vegan burger, or like all the supermarkets doing their own plant-based chicken or whatever, I think it's a good thing. I think there will always be the sorts of people who want to eat that type of food, like people who go into supermarkets now and they buy like, I don't know, wafer thin ham and like really processed chicken and frozen meat and stuff. And it's like, there is that market for them. And if that, for me, ethically, and as a person running a vegan business, I think it's really positive if there's a vegan choice in there for them, because they'll start buying that, not being scared of it, and sort of putting vegan food into their diet, and not being like what we had when we first started the business, which is like, you know, people discovered that it was a pulled jackfruit burrito and they're like, and I don't think that's happening so much anymore. Like, you know, I'll be talking, like when we were doing the build of our restaurant in Soho, like I was talking to all the build team and they were like, oh yeah, my daughter gave me a vegan burger the other day, and oh, it was really nice actually. And it's that kind of thing that like is changing the whole scene. And I think
it comes back to your vision, like making it mainstream, making it normalized.
Yeah, it's not a weird, scary thing. And yeah, I think in whatever way that happens, I think I kind of feel like there's been a lot of attention on the big like lab-based stuff and the fast food side of things in the past year. And I think that will just, as that normalizes, that attention will die down a little bit, and then the kind of more interesting food will come up through that, and people will just eat a kind of more vegan things. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I think we actually have to wrap up now. We might have one more question from the comments.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to bring Jack in. This is from Umar.
Yeah.
Would you do anything different to make your transition easier from being a street food trader to progressing to your first bricks and mortar?
Would I do anything different? Yeah, like loads, but probably not listen to Ollie as much.
Fair.
I
did say you should offer drinks for free.
Yeah, you did, which would have been a nightmare. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I was just talking about it before actually, and I think like we've taken, like almost 6 years to get to our first bricks and mortar site. And I don't regret for a second like taking that long. People do it quicker than that. But we really took our time to decide what we wanted, how we wanted the brand to be in a bricks and mortar format, what we wanted the menu to be, and really like grow up and develop as a business. So that by the time we were starting to kind of ask for money to help do this type of thing, we really knew what we were talking about, and we really had a lot of value in our brand already. And I see a lot of other people who will maybe start a street food company for like 1 to 2 years, and then they go and seek investment and they lose a huge amount of equity in their business, and they haven't really got it right. And they end up like building something with this like an amazing investor who they love, and then it all falls to pieces in a year. And I think just taking your time and learning. I feel like I have made so many mistakes, but they're all good. Like learning from them is the most critical thing, and I will make more, but it's learning how to like make those mistakes, work with them, and move on and be a like better and stronger business for it. So yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
I really enjoyed that.
Thanks, Jack.
No
Did you,
Say again.
I said thanks, Jack. Did you, Ollie?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
I feel like I put you on the spot a little bit, but that's a good thing.
It's a good philosophical question. I liked it.
Yeah. All right, Paxman, chill out.
All right. Thanks so much, Meriel.
Thanks for joining us.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Great. So slow and steady wins the race, you know. So yeah, thanks, Meriel, for joining us. So we're near towards the end of our workshop today. So one of the things that we're doing to support traders like Meriel is our Keep the Wheels Turning campaign. You can see on our website, kerbfood.store, where you can see what we're doing for our traders. You can find advice for our traders, and you can also buy vouchers for our traders when they reopen at both KERB and at 7 Dials Market. So in terms of next steps, maybe you're thinking, well, what can I do the rest of this week? I'm now invigorated, inspired, like I'm ready to go into the kitchen and make the next street food dish of the year. So if you can, start cooking those hero dishes. If you've got the right ingredients to hand, it's a great time to do some menu development, like lots of other people said. And if you don't have everything to hand, you know, necessity is the mother of all inventions. So maybe you'll stumble across a secret ingredient that maybe helps you stand out or gives it a different flavor or texture. I think just go in the kitchen and have some fun. We're doing workshops for the rest of this week. We have one tomorrow with the amazingly creative and inspiring chef Tim Anderson from Nanban, who has a restaurant in Brixton and also in our market, 7 Dials Market. And he's going to be talking about menu development and suppliers and basically finding amazing things you might have in your freezer right now to cook an amazing dish. And we'll have speakers for the rest of the week every other day at 1 o'clock. If you're really seriously thinking about doing your street food business, I would recommend registering with a council now. It normally takes like a month before you can actually do anything food related wise in terms of selling things from your home or selling things on the street. So since you can't go outside anyway, let the bureaucracy happen in the background, and then you'll be ready to get on the street. In terms of other things that you can do today, we have a street food starter pack, which is free. It's heaving with advice and discounts, and loads of advice from us, from our traders, about all the different things that we've talked about today, from branding, from marketing, to what kind of electric fryer should I get, to all of those kind of weird and wonderful questions. And you can find a link to that in the comment section of the YouTube channel that'll be put up shortly. We have an amazing online forum using a Slack channel called KERB Vault. We have loads of places where you can buy, sell equipment, borrow equipment, talk to traders, get advice, find staff, find opportunities to trade with people. Again, it's free. So I would definitely recommend getting involved in that. I've had loads of really amazing connections started from people talking in there, and generally just people saving a lot of time and money as well. Yeah, we've already talked about supporting traders via our website. You can do that as well. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is we do consultations for people, for all our traders whenever they're looking to kind of figure out something out in their business or get some support. And we're offering the opportunity for someone to win a consultation with us. So we should be sharing a little consultation form in the YouTube comments shortly about a opportunity to talk about your business, what your idea is. You'll have to answer some questions from today's workshop. You can probably find the information in other places, but we did talk about all of it today. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to support our traders on Keep the Wheels Turning. Join us in our workshop tomorrow at 2 o'clock with Tim Anderson from Nanban. And yeah, thank you so much. Ollie, do you have anything else to add? The comment section has the links in it already right now. So look at it now, look at it below.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's good.
See you tomorrow.
See you, everyone. Have a great day.